There's a new trade rumor about Ja Morant that NBA insider Howard Beck just put out there. I'm just going to read it out to you guys. It's got some attention on social media. So here goes. I'm constantly checking in with executives around trade deadline about, like, okay, what we saw, what we didn't see, what's next. And in this league, you are always on the lookout for who's the next wave of stars that are going to get dealt, right? Somebody out of the blue said, keep an eye on Ja Morant this summer. I'm just saying it's one of those things I'm just kind of keeping an eye on if they were to flame out early. Now, normally I would just rule out this as just a rumor that has no chance of happening. But unfortunately, I feel after the Luka Doncic trade that anything is possible now in this current NBA, that anybody just about can get traded. I would say outside of maybe just Jokic. I would say Jokic is probably the only guy I feel for certain that's like 100% safe. You could say Victor right now with the Spurs, since it's too early in his career, there's no way they're going to get rid of him or even think about trading him. And I would say possibly Giannis might be untouchable, but you just never know, especially if he gives inklings about wanting to leave Milwaukee, they might try to trade him. But I would say go back to Ja Morant. It's a possibility, even though that the Grizzlies right now are currently number 2 in the West. They're in a tight race between them and the Nuggets for that number 2 seed. It could flip very easily. I don't think either of these two teams will catch the Thunder, but I think most likely they'll finish somewhere in the top 3 in the West. And possibly the Grizzlies could get out of the West. They have a great team this year. It's a possibility. It wouldn't surprise me. I think it's going to be very competitive with them and the Thunder and the Nuggets. But I think short of winning a championship this year, there is a chance he could get traded. I think Luka showed it to us like a few weeks ago. Despite getting his team to the NBA Finals, they still decided they wanted to trade him. And now in the Grizzlies situation, you would ask, why would they want to trade Ja Morant? Let's say if they have a great season, even as going to the conference finals, they get there and they lose, or the NBA Finals. Why would they still trade him? I think the only answer I can give you to that, I can give you two answers to possibly why they would want to trade him. The Grizzlies are a small market team. I think their owner has been historically cheap in the past. I forget his name, it slips my mind. But he's like a guy that doesn't really like to deal with luxury tax and all the other stuff. Maybe the Grizzlies are in that territory right now or will be next year. I know Ja is signed until the summer of 2028, so he's still here for another few years. Maybe they might not want to pay him that money that he's scheduled to get the next 3 years if they don't feel he can get them to a championship or just far in the playoffs. So that could be one reason. They may not just want to pay him his remaining contract and just want to get rid of him for that reason. I think that definitely could be the case. I think number two is that it just goes back to that old saying, the juice is not worth the squeeze. And I think at times that could be the case with Ja Morant. This guy does bring a lot of baggage. He does bring a lot of drama. His father brings a lot of drama. His family brings a lot of drama. His entourage brings a lot of drama around him. There's been so many cases the last few years in Memphis of all the stuff that him and his group of people have caused, all this other stuff within the organization, just all the trouble he's gotten into and his off-court stuff. They might be just tired of it and feel that it's not worth dealing over the long term. That could be the case, especially if he can't get them to a championship right away. I guess maybe they'll think like, hey, it's just not worth it. We don't want to deal with all this drama anymore. We're just done with it. That could be it. So I think only it could be one of these two reasons I mentioned, or even both of them. That's a possibility. That's like the only reasons why I could see him getting traded. Now, if he does get traded, it could be some absurd trade. I would prepare everybody mentally for some stupid trade down the pipelines for this. It could be something absurd. It could be something dumb like Ja Morant for Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect and some other and Rui Hachimura. You just never know. The league is always obsessed with allowing the Lakers to get these bullshit trades. I wouldn't put it past them. The Grizzlies have done a bullshit trade with them in the past when they did the Pau Gasol trade, in which they just got Kwame Brown for a Pau. I know people will throw in Mark, but let's be real. Mark didn't turn out to be a great player until like a few years down the line. That trade was still a ripoff, and what they could have gotten in the short term immediately versus what they got in the long term. So that to me was a ripoff of a trade, and they didn't get Powell's best years. They didn't get prime Powell. I still believe prime Pau Gasol was better than prime Mark, just my opinion. But you get what I'm saying. It could be some farce of a trade like that could happen. Really could. So I think everyone should be concerned. Hopefully, if they do trade Ja, they're not going to trade him to some contender just for $1 or allow for some team to create a super team simply because they just get less in return for Ja. So I think, unfortunately, anything's possible. Grizzlies historically have been a stupid organization when it comes to these things. That's what I would be on the lookout for. But that's all I have to say.